Hi, I'm James Jankiewicz, and welcome to Inner Athlete Training. This is our Friday finale episode. Friday finale, January 8th, 2021. Happy New Year, everybody. And what do we do on Friday finale? Well, what we try to do is give you all the information that we spent mining during the week, because we spent a lot of time looking at the information, the studies that keep coming out from all over the world on health, fitness, nutrition, wellness. So you don't have to, right? So Friday finale will be a segment with which we sum up all that information and give it to you. We want to give it to you on a weekend so you're inspired then to go try something new. Maybe it'll be a new type of workout, a new exercise. Maybe it'll be a new supplement you want to go and buy, right? Maybe it'll be a new recipe you might want to try, right? Because you just found out about a cool new ingredient you never knew before, right? So anyway, that's what Friday finale is all about. So let's get started. From November 16th, 2020, a study from Massachusetts General Hospital tells us that short bursts of physical exercise induce changes in the body's level of metabolites that correlate to and may help gauge an individual's cardiometabolic, cardiovascular, and long-term health. So all they're saying here, in effect, is 12 minutes a day could be enough to get these amazing benefits from working out, okay? And so they're talking about metabolites. Well, what are metabolites? Well, metabolites are little circulating molecules that you see in the body as a result of your metabolism. Okay, what is your metabolism? Right, so your metabolism is basically the sum total of two processes in the body, right? So what happens in your metabolism, you have anabolism, where the body's actually building up. So you take a lot of amino acids, you take a lot of glucose molecules. The glucose molecules build into glycogen. The amino acids build up into proteins. And that's the whole building process. That's anabolism. Catabolism is just the opposite. So when you're going catabolic, it means you're taking the full protein and you're breaking down into the amino acid. It means you're taking the glycogen and you're breaking it down into glucose molecules. So the body does this all day, with far more chemicals than the two I mentioned, but those are just two illustrative chemicals. And the sum total of an anabolism building up and catabolism breaking down is your metabolism, right? So that's what your metabolism is. So when your metabolism is occurring, you have metabolites, and these metabolites are sort of like the result, the molecular result of your metabolism. And they float around as small little molecules. So some of them are good, some of them are bad. So when they are doing studies on these kind of things, they're able to look at the amount of circulating metabolites in the body and say, oh, okay, this produced a certain amount of good metabolites, and this produced a certain amount of bad metabolites, right? So that's what we mean when the study says metabolites. Quote, much is known about the effects of exercise on cardiac, vascular, and inflammatory systems of the body, but our study provides a comprehensive look at the metabolic impact of exercise by linking specific metabolic pathways to exercise response variables and long-term health outcomes, says investigator Gregory Lewis, MD, section of the head of heart failure at MGH, and senior author of the study. He goes on to say, quote, what was striking to us was the effects of a brief bout of exercise can have on the circulating levels of metabolites that govern such key bodily functions as insulin resistance, oxidative stress, vascular reactivity, and inflammation and longevity. So the MGH study drew data from the Framingham Heart Study to measure the levels of 588 circulating metabolites before and immediately after 12 minutes of vigorous exercise in 411 middle-aged men and women. The research team detected favorable shifts in a number of metabolites for which resting levels were previously shown to be associated with cardiometabolic disease. For example, glutamate, a key metabolite linked to heart disease, diabetes, and decreased longevity, fell by 29%. And DMGV, a metabolite associated with increased risk of diabetes and liver disease, dropped by 18%. The study further found that metabolic responses may be modulated by factors other than exercise, including a person's sex, body mass index, with obesity possibly conferring partial resistance to the benefits of exercise. Now, they're finding this more and more in a wide variety of studies, that these short bursts of exercise tend to have a longer-term cardiovascular benefit on the body than doing the longer exercises. Both have benefit, but this is really good news for people who don't always have the time to exercise, right? Because you can make it happen in just a couple short bursts of intense exercise during the day. So you don't even have to, put on your running shorts, and you don't have to go out and do anything spectacular. You could just, maybe when you're shopping, go climb a, very high flight of stairs, or walk longer or more briskly with the packages in your hand. It's like these little bouts of exercise really go a long way. And the more intense they are for the shorter duration, their team seems to be more benefit in terms of insulin resistance and certainly in terms of longevity. And now, from January 24th, 2017, a study from Georgetown University on mindfulness and meditation. Mindfulness meditation training lowers biomarkers of stress response in anxiety disorder. Hormonal inflammatory reactions to stress were reduced after meditation training in rigorous NIH-sponsored trial. So this one actually got money from the National Institutes of Health. And this has been another study, field of study, that's had a lot of money put into it and a lot of research, intellectual and financial equity going into it to really try to pop the cork on that particular mystery. Why does meditation actually help you? We know meditation has been done for thousands of years. Every single spiritual and religious practice integrates some type of meditation because of its benefits for the mind. It does keep you calm, and that's what this study goes into. Mindfulness meditation is an increasingly popular treatment for anxiety, but testing its effectiveness in a convincing way has been difficult. Now, a rigorously designed clinical trial has found objective physiological evidence that mindfulness meditation combats anxiety. The researchers found that anxiety disorder patients had sharply reduced stress hormone and inflammatory responses to a stressful situation after taking a mindfulness meditation course, whereas patients who took a non-meditation stress management course had worsened responses. So what does that mean? So inflammatory response, you hear this term a lot too. Well, basically anything that inflames you. You eat a lot of bad food that causes inflammation in the body. And an inflammation is really no more than, think about it, you cut yourself, right? And when you cut yourself, you have a lot of inflammation in that area because the body's trying to heal it. So it marshals all its resources together to try to come together and actually heal that part of the body. The same thing happens internally, right? So when it happens internally, basically what you're looking at is when you eat bad food, soda, processed food, fried food, that is injurious, literally injurious to the body internally. So the body creates inflammation. Stress also creates inflammation. Why? Because the mind is inexorably linked to the body, right? So the more stress you're under, the more biological inflammation you're going to cause. So in a study like this, they measured inflammatory markers to see if they would decrease, and certainly they did. But it's kind of a weird thing to think about that, right? Because you think it's like, okay, so I had a really bad meal. I drank too much beer, ate too much French fries or whatever, and I have a lot of inflammation. I don't feel so good. I fall into a food coma, right? But stress creates the same type of inflammatory responses in your body, right? And I've been saying this for a long time. I've been in this industry for over 30 years. I think it's better to probably have a inferior diet and a superior attitude rather than vice versa. It's great to have both. If you really work on yourself, mindfulness meditation, keeping your brain in a solution mode rather than a problem mode, so you're always looking in terms of life of what you can do, not what you can't do. In other words, you have a much more positive disposition on life. When you combine all that with a good diet, man, you're a powerhouse, right? But not everybody can get that calculus just right. But for those who are eating poorly or have trouble eating well, then at least if you keep your stress levels intact, that will still yield a huge benefit and take you a long way. The study published January 24 in Psychiatry Research included 89 patients with a generalized anxiety disorder, a condition of chronic and excessive worrying. The disorder is estimated to affect nearly 7 million Americans during any 1 year. Hogan and her colleagues randomly divided the patients into 2 groups. One took an 8-week mindfulness-based stress reduction course. The other, the control group, took an 8-week stress management education course, which included general tips on the importance of good nutrition, sleep, habits, and other wellness topics. Both courses had similar formats, but only the former included training in meditation techniques. Before and after the training course, participants underwent the Trier social stress test, a standard experiment technique for inducing a stress response in which the participants are asked at a short notice to give a speech before an audience and are given other anxiety-inducing instructions. Quote, "We were testing the patient's resilience," Hope said, "because that's really the ultimate question. Can we make people handle stress better?" Unquote. Now, it's interesting that they chose public speaking, right? Because statistically, everybody says, well, all the studies will out that more people are afraid of public speaking. It's second to death, all right? So in other words, that people get a lot of anxiety when it comes to public speaking. I, fortunately, never suffered from that. Maybe it's because I'm a Leo, I'm told. I don't know, right? But that really hasn't been an issue. But I understand it is for a lot of people. And that's a great thing to use for your experiment because of the amount of stress it actually incites. So they can measure what's happening physiologically in the body just at the thought of having to go and do a public talk. For this stress test, the team monitored blood-based markers of subjects' stress responses, namely the levels of the stress hormone ACTH and the inflammatory proteins IL-6 and TNF. The control group showed modest rises in the second test compared to the first, suggesting a worsening of their anxiety from having to endure the test again. So it's like we were saying before, you're looking at those biological markers of inflammatory reactions, and that's what they were able to measure. It's like, okay, these things are becoming inflamed. We're seeing an increase of these molecules, so we know that the body's under a greater amount of stress. By contrast, the meditation group showed big drops in these markers on the second test, suggesting that the meditation training had helped them cope. So what does meditation cost you? Absolutely nothing. You don't have to go to the gym. You don't have to buy sneakers. You don't have to do anything fancy. You don't even have to physically exert yourself. But you do have to do what is arguably one of the more challenging things, and that's sit there quietly by yourself. And this is a big challenge for a lot of people. If you don't have that spiritual gene, that disposition to even want to do that, then it's a tough road to do. And that's why it's been included. It's been a part of every spiritual practice and every religion because of the clarity that it brings to the mind and the ability to reduce stress. And when you reduce stress, you can see things more clearly. In other words, you can solve problems better because you're not consumed by the ocean of your thoughts, right? The thoughts that are just like always going in and out and waving all through your brain and your mind, right? Once you can learn to calm those through mindfulness and certain types of meditation, and we'll go into different types of meditation on this program, but it's the quelling of those thoughts, not the elimination, because you'll really never eliminate them. It's almost impossible to eliminate them, but you can quell them. And through being objective to your own thoughts, you can eventually have a say, as to how much they're going to impact you. Like right now, you may have a thought and it may obsess you, and you may link onto it and it may grab you and you may even wrestle with it, but you don't know how to get rid of it, right? You may even try to fight it, which is the worst thing you can do, because it's only through meditation that you can actually conquer that kind of turmoil in your psyche. And we'll go much deeper into that as time goes by. But I just wanted to cite those 3 studies and hope they inspire you to go out and do something fun with them this weekend. Try meditation. Try 12 minutes of intense workout. Try 12 minutes of intense workout and then meditate afterwards. Try meditating before and then doing 12 minutes of intense workout. That's why we want to give you all this information on a Friday. Just things you can sort of experiment with, play with now that you have a couple days to yourself. Exercise, as doesn't take a whole lot of time. Meditation doesn't take a whole lot of time. It's not like, oh my gosh, where am I going to find the time to do all this? You can integrate it, especially knowing with this episode that you can get a lot done in 12 minutes. And there are studies that we'll go over in the future. Some of them are claiming that you can actually do it in 4 minutes, which is even better news. But we'll go for 12 minutes for now. So I'm wishing you a great weekend. And this has been our Friday finale for Inner Athlete Training. And we will see you next time on Inner Athlete Training.